Let me bring your attention to one that is on page 10. Ruto scores early in the race to IEBC, to shape IEBC. The 2022 politics MPs allied to DP have passed a new law. So yesterday, members of parliament were to vote on IEBC Amendment Bill 2019 on how to go about the recruitment of it. As we speak, there are only 3 commissioners in IEBC. 4 had already left. There's a quorum issue, a problem of numbers rather within IEBC. This is even ahead of the 2022 polls. So if this bill is now ahead of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who will either sign it into law or it will return back to the National Assembly. It's that simple. David, let me begin with you very quickly. Touch on this very likely because of time. Out of 7, there are only 3 commissioners. 4 are already out. Should we just have a fresh new recruitment, send the 3 home as well, and just have a fresh new recruitment of our IEBC commissioners?
The question rather ought to be, is there confidence in the 3 who are currently remaining in office based on the happenings of 2017? And the answer, in my opinion, is no. And therefore, it would be impossible for them to preside over the next election. Of course, as it were, their terms expire just before the next election. So obviously, there will be new ones to take over from them.
Right. Yeah. So it's not a question of new commissioners, but if Kenyans have confidence in the 3 that are left.
Exactly. I mean, the 3 commissioners that remain, one of their fellow commissioners, remember, Roslyn Akombe, resigned, stating that the commission was compromised. And she did not spare even the 3 that remain. That's the chair and the other 2. And whereas I do not want to dignify innuendos and rumors that I saw, online of one of them meeting another one ahead of the Kibra by-election, all these things speak to the question of morality and whether they have the moral authority to still preside over these elections.
And David, you've taken me automatically to my next question, which was the issue of morals. Dr. Wandie, let me come to you. The fact that we are seeing political class seeking to have influence on IEBC commissioners, on our electoral body, what does that say about our nation ahead, or 3 years ahead of our general election, when you have the political creme de la creme wanting to have influence on our IEBC commissioners?
I think Kenya's democracy has lost it. Even the focus on elections rather than the focus on what elected leaders do is part of our problem. And what politicians are doing is just rigging the system with money. And once they come into office, they are not doing what Kenyans elected them to do.
Right.
So, IEBC for me is neither here or there. I think after the last election, my heart has basically collapsed.
What would make, as a Kenyan, as a voter, Dr. Wandie, just even as a normal Kenyan, as a normal taxpayer, what would be done for you to have confidence in your electoral body, in the country's electoral body? What do you want to be seen to be done for you to feel like, okay, you know what, if we went for election tomorrow and this is the outcome, as a Kenyan, I'll be happy with it. I'll be confident with it.
Actually, what I would like to see is a country that makes me confident in the democracy. Then I think that would fix what we expect from elections. I think we need to change what we expect from politicians. I think that's the major thing. We are not expecting from politicians social services, accountability for how money is spent. And until we Kenyans start demanding accountability for the 5 years, what they are doing during the 5 years, the elections are still going to keep on being this ceremony that we do that is just, I don't know, it's almost like a reality show where you're just voting for people but not really getting any value for what they're worth. So I would like to see Kenyans shift their attention from elections, from who's ahead, who supports who, to what services do we have? Do we have schools where kids can go? Do we have hospitals where we don't have to pay to be treated? Those are the big questions that we should be asking and calling our politicians to account on them. But they don't. They don't talk about this. The only time we see them is at funerals talking about the next election. That's an abuse of Kenyans.
And Joy, here's the funny thing. Even as we speak right now, IEBC currently doesn't have any mechanism of recruiting its commissioners. Exactly. So question is, if we were recruiting our IEBC commissioners, if we were recruiting our electoral commissioners if it was an internal recruitment process without outside influence. Do you think that would help strengthen this electoral body, making it more credible, giving confidence to Kenyans? Transparency would be better if the picking of commissioners was done within the body without outside influence of the parliament.
The fact that it is a constitutional commission means that they do not have that luxury. Any nominees have to be vetted by parliament, have to be approved, and have to be installed. What we do have is a unique situation where people who had security of tenure abandoned their tenure along the way. That clearly wasn't envisaged in the law when it was being established, and now we have to find a way of curing it. This bill was not developed by members of parliament per se, but by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. I would expect that the people who participated in the drafting of this bill are trying to cure that anomaly, where if we find ourselves in a situation where commissioners abandon ship midway, what do we do? So I'm not choosing to look at this in terms of this particular IEBC. I'm looking at this for posterity. If we have a situation where people wake up and resign in a half, then what can we do? That is what they're trying to cure. I opine that we started this trend of allowing politicians to say, we don't have confidence in this, let's send them away. The biggest mistake we did was sending away this Hassan-led commission so close to an election. We let politicians get the impression that if they're not happy with the commission, if they make enough noise, they can send them all away and we will recruit them new people whom they're happy with. In my opinion, the ones who walked away from the job are away from the job. For us to send away the 3 who have stayed to do the job is unfair because they've decided they're sticking it out. In my opinion, it's also an opportunity for us to have a staggering in IEBC commissioners because now we've got 3 whose term will end, but by that time we'll have 4 who will continue.
Right.
That has been a problem before because they all used to go at once and we used to replace all of them at once. So we've got a rookie team starting from scratch each time. In my opinion, this is a good thing because it gives us an opportunity to replace these 4. So when these 3 go, we have these 4. Their term will expire midway, and we'll have 3 who will remain and carry on. So it gives us it's not entirely a terrible thing as far as I'm concerned. In terms of politicians being in control, they've always been in control, which is an anomaly because it's the players choosing the referee.
Right.
It's not fair. But that's what we have right now. It's Parliament that starts with the process.
Unfortunately.
And the vetting.
Bishop Ritish, let me bring you in. You will have the last say on this very quickly. As a religious leader, what would you want to see happening in terms of strengthening our electoral body?
Yes, I am very sorry because I was a member of the team that worked with this current IEBC. We are the ones who negotiated for the exit of the previous IEBC. And we said, Kenyans, after this election, we need to sit and look at the IEBC. The issue is that we don't want to be accountable. I think it is upon us now to ask the government, what did we say? That your performance contract will only end when you have put in place a new IEBC or an IEBC. We grapple with the idea of 7, 4, 3. Why don't we take the bull by the horns and say we need one person only to announce election? Only one. In other countries, they direct a minister to announce it, or a person in the office of the president, or internal security, or even home affairs to do it. But we spend millions, we spend money, we spend man hours doing something that we had already said. All we need is to go back to the matrix of implementation and say, what did we say? Let's ask the president for his legacy to set the ball rolling now and put in place an IEBC. We thank the members who are still serving for their patience.
Right.
But I want to appeal to the presidency to do something now so that we may not be carrying forward that which we said must be done.
Hopefully you will do it when it comes back.
I need to quip very quickly that one of the 9 agendas that formed the basis for the Building Bridges initiative was to have new laws that govern the recruitment and effective operation of the IEBC. And I think we are running out of time because politics will cloud all this so that then the propositions of BBI may be a bit too late. It is time BBI gave us their proposition on what has to be done concerning IEBC. If we let it go this way, then we are still headed for a crisis in 2022 because given to politicians, they will try to influence who sits there. And once they do that, the people who find themselves having ascended to office at IEBC as commissioners will have allegiance to sides. And so we must try to have a way in which, it's quite hard, but a way in which we end up with impartial people given to service, not to politics. So I really, really look forward because the Building Bridges initiative is probably one of the best things that will have happened to this country if it gets it right on these things, as they have tried so far to deal with things like corruption, okay? Because some are administrative action. The president would appoint people or get others fired. That's administrative action, but he has nothing to do until we change this and make it into law.
All right, so it's a bill. We'll wait for President Uhuru Kenyatta to see whether he will sign it or send it back to the National Assembly. Right now, we want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll dive into the heart of the conversation, which is church and politics. In fact, this morning we are asking you, does the church hold the moral authority in the society? Does the church hold the moral authority in society? Let us know what you think. Text us on 22422, or you can simply tweet us directly at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak.